How's it going, guys? Today I wanted to show you what's in my cart and tell you about the disc that I'll be using for the remainder of the 2021 season. If you follow me at all, you know that this year I switched over to the DISCRAFT Underground team, and so this is my first year having a full DISCRAFT lineup. And after a lot of trial and error, I think I have finally figured out exactly what molds I like and what has given me some success out there on the course, and I'm happy to show you that today. And if you follow me at all, then you know I love using the ZEUS cart. I'm able to carry a lot more disc, and as I've been trying out new molds, it's allowed me to carry extra ones for practice, for just testing out in the field and things like that. So a lot of these discs in here right now are not discs that I might go to for any given round, but I like having a few extras in case I were to lose one, or again if I'm trying to get some extra practice in. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about each individual disc. I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of what they do and what I have them in there for. And so with that in mind, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the distance drivers. I'll start with my most overstable, which are my forces. I've got my Z force, which is a pop top force. This was given to me by my buddy Alex Twos. This thing is very overstable. I use this for sidearm and backhand shots up to about 400 feet. Anytime there's a headwind, I know that I can always trust this disc to fight the wind for me. After that, I've got an ESP force, a little bit older run of the force. This one flies, I would say, very similar to some of my ZEUS's, but this is a disc that I don't mind losing. It's one that's been with me for a long time, and I've got my ZEUS's broken in exactly where I want them to be. And so I hate to say this, but this is one of the discs that I would say is a little more expendable compared to some of the other ones in my bag. So if I'm throwing over water, or if I've got a lot of stuff where I might potentially lose a disc, this is what I'll use in that situation. Speaking of the ZEUS, I do carry 4 ESP ZEUS's in my bag, starting with the most overstable, which is this green pop top ZEUS. This was given to me by my buddy Drew Uloa, who is also a member of Infinite Disc along with me. This one is what I use for any sort of headwind shot, or if I need to throw a sidearm and have it finish really hard, but also get a lot of glide. In comparison to the force that I showed you, this one will go about 40 to 50 feet farther for me. Very stable though, it'll always hold up to the wind, and it's one of my most reliable drivers. After that, I've got one very similar to the last one I showed you, but it's a little bit lighter, so again, can stretch out the distance a little bit more, but still very reliable, still very overstable. This one is more as a backup to the last one I just showed you. This is a pretty crucial spot in my bag, and a disc that I always want to make sure I have in my lineup, so if I'm ever were to lose that one, or if it got dinged up really good, I like having a fresh one ready to go. So that this purple one serves more as a backup for the last one I showed you. One of my favorite discs in my bag is this black ZEUS. This is my bomber. This is what I'm using for max distance shots. I can start this out on hyzer. It'll pop up and just ride straight, get a nice consistent finish. I can get it to S-curve. I can throw big turnovers with it. Whatever I need it to do, this will do it for me. Probably the farthest flying ZEUS in my bag, and one that I can rely on in so many different situations. After that, for more of my straight to understable slot, I like to go to the Hades. The Hades in general is a very understable disc. However, I found one run, it's the pop top run, that seems to have a little bit more stability to it. So the pink one here is my go-to. I'm using this for tailwind shots, any sort of big left to right shot, and even the occasional roller. But these things, when you catch them right, they go extremely far. Probably the farthest flying disc in my bag if I catch it right. And then I've got another one just as a backup in case I were to lose that one. A new addition to the DISCRAFT lineup has been the ESP SCORCH. This has been a very fun disc to test out. A ton of glide on this. It's only an 11 speed, but I would say it goes just as far as my Hades, and sometimes even my black ZEUS that I was talking about earlier. The word I would give for this disc is glide. This thing starts out on a hyzer for me, and it pops up and just goes for days. In terms of stability, I would say for me it fits somewhere in between the Hades and the ZEUS. So this is what I'm going to be using for a lot of woodsy distance shots, and something where I can really work the disc off a hyzer. Going down in speed a little bit, I like to throw the VULTURE. I've got this BUZZZ test flight VULTURE. This one is more like an Onyx for me. It's got a really good stability to it, but I can also get a good amount of distance with it as well. Very controllable, fights the wind, and still has a really good flight to it. Very fun disc to throw, one of my favorites in my bag. Then I've got the ESP VULTURE, which this one is a little bit glidier. I can stretch this one out an extra 20 to 30 feet. A little bit straighter for me than the BUZZZ one, and I would say fits that slot perfectly between my fairway drivers, some of my 7, 8, 9 speed disc, and my distance drivers. One of my favorite discs in my bag, and as you can tell I've got 4 of them currently with me, is the RAPTOR. The RAPTOR is a disc that I think every player needs in their bag. It's that overstable 9-speed slot that just is so crucial for most people's bags, and it's definitely a crucial disc for me. Starting out with my most overstable is the Crystal RAPTOR. This replaced the Machete for me. It's that overstable, and I love the consistency of the feel of this disc. Very overstable. I use this mostly in headwinds, but I will pull this out occasionally for a backhand shot if the wind is really up. But Crystal RAPTOR, by far the most overstable version of the RAPTOR that I've found. After that, going down in stability a little bit, I go to the First Run Z RAPTOR. This is probably my go-to for sidearm shots. I can flex this disc, I can hyzer it, or I can throw it flat. Get some distance, but also have that very strong finish that you can always rely on. So First Run RAPTOR, very similar to the Crystal, just slightly less stable. A new addition to my bag has been the 2021 Paul Ulibarri RAPTOR. This one is a little bit straighter for me. I was very surprised when I first threw this disc. I thought it was going to be a lot more overstable, but I actually found this one to be a little bit straighter for me before it started fading back. So I like to say that this is my woods RAPTOR, just because I can put a lot of different angles on it and get a lot of different flights out of it. So it definitely serves a purpose, but for me this is a little bit straighter of a RAPTOR, and I'm really enjoying that. And then the last RAPTOR in my bag is this ESP RAPTOR. I've personally found that the ESP RAPTORs are a lot less stable than some of the other plastics, and I'm really enjoying it for backhand shots. I can get a little more distance on it, but I'm not really sacrificing stability. So very rarely will you see me use this for sidearm. This is mostly just my backhand RAPTOR that I like to use. One of my favorite discs in the DISCRAFT lineup is the ZEUS. I've got 2 of them in the bag. And you know, a lot of people ask, what is that slot that fits in between the RAPTOR and the Undertaker? And for me, I always try to tell players to check out the tracker, because for me, that's exactly where it fits. The tracker is that nice, stable driver that you can rip on hard. You're going to get a lot of distance, but you're also going to get a nice, reliable fade at the end of the flight. Not quite as much as a RAPTOR, but definitely more than an Undertaker. That's why the tracker is one of my favorite discs in my bag, so I always want to have an extra one to go with the one that I lean on the most. So 2 trackers in my bag. And speaking of the Undertaker in my opinion is one of the best fairway drivers on the market. If you play a lot of woods golf and you want to have a disc that goes anywhere from 300 feet all the way, for some players, up over 400 feet, the Undertaker is definitely the disc for you. This thing is so straight. I've got the TI Undertaker, which is a little bit more stable. Goes pretty straight, but still has a little bit of that late fade to it, giving it that extra stability. So I like this one a lot. And then I've got my ESP Undertaker, which is more of my hyzer flip up the straight, get that slight little drift over to the right. Very similar to the TI, just a little bit less stable. Can really work this one a lot in the woods. For my most understable fairway driver, I lean on the ESP Heat. This thing is very understable. I would compare it to a Hades, but a little bit less speed. However, this thing will get up well over 400 feet for me. If I started out on hyzer, this thing's going to pop up and get a big turn to the right. I'm using this for big left to right shots. Also my go-to roller disc. If you're a beginner or you're a player that doesn't have a lot of arm speed and you're looking for a big distance disc, but you're not quite ready to step up to those 11, 12, 13 speed discs, I would definitely recommend checking out a Heat. These things are absolutely incredible, and I think you'll be surprised at how much distance you can get with this. I do have a couple of utility drivers that I like to use. These are very much situational discs. Starting out with the Z-Flex Machete. These things are incredible. They are super overstable. This is probably the most overstable disc I have ever thrown. As soon as it leaves my hand, it wants to get to the ground as quickly as possible. But what I like this disc for is really because it's in the Z-Flex plastic and because it's so overstable, this thing really just likes to knife into the ground, and it doesn't get a lot of ground play. It just likes to kind of hit and sit, which is a very good disc to have, especially if you're playing on a lot of slopey courses or if you got some tricky greens. So love having that one. And then one of my favorite discs in my bag is the Z Extreme. This is the Drew Gibson one. Anything about 275 and in for a sidearm, you'll see me lean on this disc quite a bit. It's very overstable, great for backhand and sidearm shots. One of the most reliable discs I've ever thrown. The Extreme will always be in my bag. Going down to the mid-ranges, I'll start with my most overstable. I carry two BUZZ OS's. I've got this Glow BUZZ OS, which is very flat and very overstable. I use this exclusively for sidearm shots. You'll never see me use this for a backhand shot. I really like how I can get into this disc as if it was a driver, but I know that it's only going to go about 275, maybe upwards of 300 feet if I really get into it, but really love this one for sidearm. And then after that I carry another Z BUZZ OS. This is what I use for my backhand overstable mid-range shots. This thing will fight any wind I put it in, and I know that it's always going to finish to the left for my backhand shots. My favorite disc of all time, the disc that I've enjoyed throwing ever since I started playing disc golf, is by far the BUZZ. I carry 5 BUZZs in my bag. Starting out with my most overstable, I've got this Glow BUZZ. This is one I can get into as if it's a BUZZ OS. I know I'm going to get a little bit more distance than my BUZZ OS, but I'm also going to have a very consistent finish at the end of the flight. So this is one of my most reliable ones. Again, something I can really get into, trust that it's going to go straight, but still have a very consistent finish at the end. I carry an ESP BUZZ with a bar stamp. This one is not quite as overstable as the Glow. However, this one will still get a very nice, reliable finish. So it's more as a backup to the Glow one at the moment. But I will pull this out occasionally if I want to just have a little extra distance than that Glow one I showed you. One of my favorite BUZZs in my bag is this Huck Lab Stamp BUZZ. This is a disc that will hold any line you put it on, whether it's a hyzer, a straight shot, or a turnover. This disc is what I lean on probably more than any other disc in my bag. More than likely, if I'm in doubt, you're going to see me throw this disc. So ESP BUZZ. Another ESP BUZZ. This one's been with me for quite a while now. I think I've had this in the bag close to 3 years, and this is more of my turnover BUZZ. I can get this one to hyzer flip up and just kind of drift over to the right. Throwing this one up to about 330-ish. Very nice flyer for me, tons of glide, and I really love the stage that it's broken into at the moment. And it's taken me a long time to get it there, but it's flying well for me. So another ESP BUZZ. And then to round out the BUZZs, I've got this old 2007 Memorial BUZZ. This serves more as a backup to the last one I showed you. I got this one a couple weeks ago, and it's flying almost identical to the last one I showed you. So if I ever were to lose that one, I know I've got one ready to go that's going to do the exact same thing. So I love the ESP BUZZ. And then the last mid-range in my lineup is the ESP METEOR. I would say it's one of the most underrated discs in the DISCRAFT lineup. The BUZZ is obviously a great mid-range, but the METEOR for me is that perfect turnover mid-range. Something that I can throw a lot on hyzer, get it to stand up and just kind of cruise towards the basket. And it's the farthest flying mid-range I think I've ever thrown. So love the ESP METEOR. All right, last but not least, let's get into the putters. I'm going to start with my Soft X Ringer. This is a disc that really I don't use a ton off the tee, but this is probably my go-to approach disc. And being in the Soft X plastic, it really likes to grab the ground well, and I'm really just enjoying this disc. Soft X Ringer, one of my go-to approach discs. But probably my favorite throwing putter that I've ever thrown really, and one that I lean on quite a bit, is the Zone. I carry 4 zones in my bag. A lot of people ask me why I use the Zone instead of something like a Luna or a Roach or any other Discraft disc. And for me, it's all about consistency. And I don't think there's a more consistent disc than the Zone. I'll start out with my least stable, which is this yellow Jawbreaker Zone. This one right now is broken in to where I can hyzer flip it to flip up and just go straight. I can turn it over if I need to. Very neutral flying. I'm hoping to break it in just a little bit more so I can start getting those hyzer flipped, those slow little drifts off to the right. So love having that one. I've got another Jawbreaker Zone. This one's a little bit more stable than that, but as you can tell, the recurring theme in my bag is if I were to lose one, I like having one ready to go, and that's exactly what this one is in my lineup. I carry a Soft X Zone. This one's more overstable than the Jawbreaker ones I showed you. This is a perfect approach disc for my sidearm shots. I also use this for backhand occasionally, but what I really like using this for is very similar to the X-Soft Ringer, but this is my more stable version. So if the wind picks up or if I just need something with a little more fade, I'll go to this instead of the Ringer. And then the last zone in my bag is this BUZZZ Zone. For me, this is the most overstable version of the Zone that I've found. I use this for backhand and for sidearm. Anytime the wind is up and I've got a shot 250 and in, you'll see me reach for this disc. And it's been in my bag for over a year and it still flies the exact same today. So very thankful to have that one in the bag. And last but not least, my putting putters. I putt with OG Jawbreaker Roaches. I've got a pair of these, and these are by far the best putters I've ever used. What I like about the Roach is it has a really nice rounded edge to it, so it's a very comfortable disc in my hand. It has a really straight flight with lots of glide, and it has a very consistent finish to it. And this OG Jawbreaker plastic just has a really stiff but grippy feel to it. And again, by far the best putter I've ever used. Well guys, that's going to wrap this up. I just want to thank my sponsors, DISCRAFT, for putting me on the team this year. It's been a pleasure being able to represent them both on and off the course and getting to throw their plastic and promote their brand. So thank you to DISCRAFT. I also want to thank Infinite Disc for their continued sponsorship. I've been with Infinite for 4 years now and I haven't looked back. It's been one of the best things that I've ever done, and I just want to thank them for all the support that they've given me. So guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about any of these discs, make sure to leave me a message down in the comments, and I'd love to have a conversation with you about any of these. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.